Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you and looking forward to spending some time talking to you about you and your business. We've got a lot to cover, and I want to go straight to it. My good friend Paul Carroll with Efficient Wealth Management, which is a very unique boutique firm that really, I love the story, and I always ask Paul whenever he's on the program that before he introduces his guest, and today's guest is going to be a very timely one. I can already see that. Before you do that, Dale, tell us about your firm, and I also want to mention the website is efficientwealthmanagement.com. Go right ahead, Paul, and welcome.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for that introduction. Efficient Wealth Management is a boutique wealth management firm based here in the Woodlands, Texas. And while protecting our clients' wealth, we also are very careful to mitigate their taxes, take care of their heirs, protect their assets from being unjustly taken, and maximize the impact of charitable planning. And when we mitigate our clients' taxes, one of the things we do is work with a small team of what we consider to be very highly qualified CPAs. And one of those is Sandra Steward of Steward CPA.
Well, we're delighted to have you on. I can't imagine a more timely topic in light of the time of the year that we're in, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with you. Why don't we start real quickly, Sandra, with your elevator speech? Just tell us what your firm is all about.
Yes, well, thank you, Kevin. It's great to be on the show. And for over 20 years now, Steward CPA, PC, we've helped many individuals and businesses with their tax and accounting needs. And our office is also located in the Woodlands, Texas. And our goal is primarily to just provide high-quality, timely tax and accounting services while still upholding the highest standards of customer service and ethics.
Very good. Paul?
Well, and today we were kind of hoping we could go down this topic of some of these new stealth taxes that have popped up in the last couple of years, particularly the net investment income tax, what we're calling the Obamacare tax, and the additional Medicare tax. For those of us who are in the top tax brackets, how is that impacting our marginal income tax rate, Sandra?
Well, the Medicare tax, this additional Medicare tax, there's really two components. One is subject to self-employment income and wages, and that is at the 0.9% rate, and that is when you have income over certain thresholds. And the second component is the net investment income tax, and that is actually imposed on net investment income. That rate is at 3.8%.
Why don't you go ahead and elaborate on that net investment tax?
Well, the net investment tax is actually the new tax, and that because previously the Medicare tax was only applied to wages and self-employed income, and it has never applied to the net investment tax. Now that is going to be the thresholds involved are for married filing joint filers over $250,000 of modified adjusted gross income. For singles, it's going to be single filers will be for modified adjusted gross income over $200,000, and for married filing separate, it'll be over $125,000. Now, it's also, I should mention that it's also subject to trusts and estates, and the tax bracket for that is for those types of entities are much lower. Right now, it's at $12,150. So if those estates and trusts, if they have modified adjusted gross income of taxable income of $12,150 or greater, then they will also be subject to the net investment income tax.
Yeah. Paul, your next question?
So, bottom line, it's going to affect maybe a third of the households in the Woodlands, and how is that going to affect employers or small business people like myself?
Well, the employers actually are not subject because it really is just for individuals' trusts, certain trusts and estates. So as far as an additional tax, the employers and the businesses will not have an additional tax. They will, however, have an additional reporting requirement when their employees reach $200,000 in wages. That pay period, they will have to withhold the 0.9% for the additional Medicare tax for those wages, and then for the remainder of the year.
So if somebody has two sources of income and it's because of the dual sources that sends them over the threshold, they need to be setting aside money because they're going to get an unexpected surprise.
That's absolutely correct. Yes.
I do want to mention real quickly the website for your company, by the way, is Sandra Steward CPA. That's SandraStewardCPA.com. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, so what can you do to avoid this tax? I mean, we appreciate the detail, but how do you avoid it, or can you avoid it, or what strategies help you minimize the impact?
There are several strategies that we've considered. There's two real important strategies that I just want to mention is, number one, the best way to not be surprised in April of the following year is to get a tax projection done by your tax preparer. Our office typically prepares tax projections. For example, we're currently working on 2014 tax returns, and at the same time that we're working on the 2014 tax returns, we also provide tax projections. It is standard for all of our clients for the 2015 year. So we try to get with them and understand what their expectations are for income and deductions for the current year so that they have really 9 months to spread that tax effect out over the remainder of the year. And that way we're confident that we don't have any surprises as long as we've got some good expectations of our income and deductions for the current year.
But are there things that can be done to maybe reduce the impact of the tax?
Yes, and also the second thing that's important is, as you mentioned, Paul, I think it's great that your firm does this, but I really think that the tax preparers need to be communicating and with all the wealth managers and the investment advisors of their clients. I think this is critical because of these additional taxes that are directly related. And then in talking about strategies, one real popular strategy is, they had the Job and Growth Tax Relief Reconciliation Act of 2003, for example. That was actually very favorable to have dividends because the dividend tax rate was favorable as a result of that provision. And now, instead of encouraging investments that produce dividend income, we are actually, in certain situations, recommending that clients consider investing in products that provide for long-term capital gain, especially if a client foresees a change in their employment, if they think they're going to retire, and if they're in a large tax bracket this year, if they foresee in the next few years that they may not be in that large tax bracket, they really should take advantage of deferring that income. Also, if people are changing jobs, if some people are wanting to change positions, maybe they want to open up their own business. This is really just a deferral tactic. But yes, if you expect to be in the large tax brackets in a certain year and you believe that you may not be in those tax brackets in future years, then it would be great if you could think of strategies to defer that income, and converting from dividend producing investments to long-term capital gains is one great strategy for that. And then quickly, there's several others, but I'll just mention those briefly. But they're tax-exempt bonds, maybe post-tax IRA investments versus non-qualified annuities, because annuities are subject, to the net investment income tax. Considering the benefits of sole proprietorship.
Sandra, I apologize. We are really running tight on time. I apologize.
Oh, no problem.
So if you could wrap it up, that would be great.
Sure.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of information. And in fact, I do want to encourage the listener to check out SandraStewardCPA.com. So much information. Obviously, you can help people big time through this. And, of course, developing wealth strategies to mitigate those tax consequences. I can't recommend anyone more highly than Paul Carroll at EfficientWealthManagement.com. And thanks to both of you. I'm sorry I ran out of time. It's a great topic.
Great. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. When we come back, much more for you. Do you want to remind you, best content here, including this interview, can be found over there at usdatareview.com, and you're listening to A Business.